Court Door, and this is going to be our focus for tonight. There's a lot to talk about. The capping of the ministers at 57 is one area tonight we're sinking our teeth into, plus matters relating to whether or not members of parliament should be appointed as ministers of state. Another area that we will be getting into that's coming up next year on Ghana Tonight is the proposal by the Constitutional Review Committee on the removal process of the Chief Justice, taking into consideration what happened in the case of Gertrude Araba Esaba Tokono. Stay with us. We have a conversation tonight. Also, we'll give you an update on the National Service Authority trial. Yesterday, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, did indicate one of the accused persons offered to pay 22 million out of the 36 million Ghana cedis that is involved in the scandal, the aspect of the scandal pertaining to this particular individual. The Attorney General says he rejected the 22 million cedis because the person wanted to just give it and walk free. Well, stay with us. We have a conversation on this because there's some views coming up on this as well. And as always, you're an integral part of the conversation. We'll give you an update in court earlier today. Aboutrika was in court. Share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us. The hashtag is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get the conversation going. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The Gbese District Court has directed the Interior Ministry to within 5 weeks give further information regarding warrant of arrest issued against two alleged accomplices of wire fraud and romance scam suspect Frederick Kumi aka Aboutrika after dismissing bail applications for them. Aboutrika, Daniel Yusuf aka Lord Ishon and Bernard Edu have been charged with conspiracies to commit defrauding by false pretense and money laundering. One of the lawyers of Aboutrika spoke to the media after proceedings.
For A1, whose name is retained on the indictment, has not really crystallized. That's why we didn't apply for bail for A1. But A2 and A3, their names are not on the indictment that was retained by the USA or the state, the Department of Justice of the United States. So that's why we prayed for bail. But still, per Article 19, 14 and then Section 96 is still with the bosom of the court, the judge, and she exercises her discretion in favor of the state rather than the accused persons or the alleged fugitives.
What this means.
The acting Minister for Defence, Dr. Kasiel Atofosin, and the Minister for the Interior, Mohamed Mubarak Muntaka, have announced a complete overhaul of the country's security services in 2026 in an attempt to boost the morale of personnel. Speaking at this year's route march by the Joint Security Services, the two ministers reaffirmed the government's commitment to retooling all security agencies, particularly the military and the fire service.
In today's complex security environment, no single service, and I mean no single service, can stand alone. The safety and stability of our dear nation depends on the cooperation, in fact, the interoperability and the mutual trust among all security agencies.
The Army, coming here, you are going to be one of the main focus, just as the fire service is going to be one of the main focus. The President has assured us we are going to have a lot of fire tenders. The prisons, we know the risk associated with your work. We are going to be focused. The immigration, we know the border control challenges that you are going through. The police, we know the day-to-day challenges that you are going through. And we are assuring you, by the grace of God, 2026, this time when we meet here, much more fewer challenges will still be confronting us.
The Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Ubukwajiman, has expressed concern about the impact of illegal mining and the indiscriminate dumping of toxic waste on marine life during a working visit of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. She pledged government support to address key challenges facing the sector.
When you talk about resources, of course, it's very important. There's wealth in the waters. So let's find ways of bringing this wealth out, and especially affecting the lives of the fishermen and the fishmongers.
Inspector General of Police Christian Tete Yohunu says crimes and other forms of impunity against journalists are over. Addressing the third dinner night of the Ghana Journalists Association, the IGP said personnel of the Ghana Police Service have been engaged to work closely with journalists to protect the country's democracy.
Unlike before, you get to the police station and they said we cannot talk. So I called all my media personnel countrywide, took them through orientation, and from there, I informed them that everybody should open the doors to the media. And I assure you that we are going to protect you. Those incidents that happened in the past, they will happen no more.
From extending the presidential term and taxing presidential emoluments to capping the size of government, the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendations are drawing both praise and pushback. Government experts, civil society actors, and ordinary citizens have all weighed in on the proposals, reflecting a wide range of opinions and debates as reactions continue to pour in. The proposals are fast becoming one of the most consequential constitutional conversations Ghana has witnessed in decades. Governance expert Professor Bafwa Agyemang-Duah agrees wholeheartedly with this recommendation.
The 5-year term that has been proposed is a good one. It's not out of sync with many other countries that we know.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. All across the world on 3news.com. Also, it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Preco. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight. We continue the focus on the proposals and recommendations in the Constitutional Review Committee's report that was submitted yesterday, made public, has been published. The proposal asking whether or not it truly closes the loopholes in Article 146 or leaves critical questions unanswered. That's our major focus for tonight, and it's one of a few other areas that we're going to be looking at when it comes to the proposals that this Constitutional Review Committee has captured in their report submitted to the President yesterday. Bear in mind, this committee's work is made up of consultations. So whatever is captured in there is as a result of the consultative process that they engage in with CSOs, even they met us, journalists, and some other persons, former presidents alive, and then certain president, all other persons had their take in there. So it's a collection of the views, the proposals, and opinions of persons who represent critical constituencies in the country. One of it, yesterday we started the analysis serializing the various areas. Today, we focus on the removal process of the Chief Justice. And this comes at a time when there's still concerns about whether or not Article 146, which was used as a reference point, and that spells out the process in the Constitution for the removal of the Chief Justice, has loopholes in it. Do these recommendations, as I'm going to show you, address those issues with Article 146 that were raised during the removal process of the former Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokono? Well, stay with me. We're going to show you. And take note of where the president comes in and what happens as against what the process currently is. As we do know, the process currently is, as in 146, Article 146, is that if there is a petition against a Chief Justice, it is submitted to the president, and then the president refers to the Council of State. When a prima facie is established, or that is, if there is a fact of wrong established against the Chief Justice being petitioned, then this prima facie would then lead to the establishment or the composition of a 5-member committee. The 5-member committee would then sit and hear the petitioners plus the Chief Justice who is being petitioned. After the 5-member committee does their work, they give their report to the president. The president is bound by the recommendations of that committee. So he only just comes to announce, as we saw. Okay, so the president is at the beginning and at the end of the entire process, currently captured in Article 146. He receives the petition, and then what he does is he takes also the committee's report after it has been submitted to him, and then he does the announcement. But the Constitutional Review Commission, or the committees, has made some recommendations to this process of removal of the Chief Justice. And this is it. They say an aggrieved person may submit a confidential petition for the removal of the Chief Justice to the Council of State. So this time, take note, the petition is not going to the presidency first. It's going to be to the Council of State. So that's one change that they are proposing. 2, within 7 days of receipt, the Council of State shall refer the petition to its judicial committee to determine its prima facie merit. So this is another change. So they are now defining a time period between the receipt of the petition and when the Council of State will now refer this petition to a judicial committee that is formed by the Council of State itself to determine the prima facie merit. That is the element of fact established in the said petition until otherwise disputed. If insufficient grounds are found, the petition shall be dismissed. If sufficient grounds are found, the council shall notify the president and the Speaker of Parliament. So this is the only time. It's the third step that the president comes in. He comes in only after grounds for the dismissal of the Chief Justice has been established. He shall only be notified. And the Speaker of Parliament, this time around, there's also introduced another new one. The Speaker of Parliament is in there now. The Speaker of Parliament shall also be notified of any element of fact in the petition against the Chief Justice. Then, it is at this point that the President may suspend the Chief Justice pending investigation. The Council of State then shall appoint a 5-member tribunal. So now they are changing the current architecture of Article 146, where a 5-member committee is established to hear, but this time there's going to be a 5-member tribunal. The tribunal shall be made up of one person appointed by the President, who shall not be a lawyer or currently holding any public or party office, one person appointed by the Speaker of Parliament, who shall be a former MP. So take note of this difference as well. The composition of the committee, as is existing in Article 146 now, has also been changed by this proposal. So this proposal now spells out one will come from the President, one will come from the Speaker of Parliament. The person should be a former MP. And this is person not currently holding any public or party office. one person appointed by the Speaker, that's by the Public Service Commission, one person appointed by the National House of Chiefs, and a former Justice of the Supreme Court appointed by the Judicial Council. This makes up the new 5-member tribunal that this Constitutional Review Committee report is proposing. The tribunal shall then conduct its hearing in camera and submit its findings within 60 days. The committee shall be chaired by the former Justice of the Supreme Court. This is the new proposal that if Article 146 is going to be amended to, as it were, inculcate these, then this is how it's going to look like. Justice Abdullah is a private legal practitioner. He is a lecturer at the UPSA Law Faculty. He's joining us. Good evening, Justice Abdullah. Thank you for joining us. First off, what's your take on this? After I've run through the entire proposal by the Constitutional Review Committee as against what exists now in Article 146, their proposal after consultation is that this is how they want the removal process of a Chief Justice to be like. How does this strike you?
I think it's a departure from what we have in the existing structure, which gives the president so much authority, or if you like, any political party in government desirous of removing the CJ, so much authority and leeway to remove the CJ. However, looking at the new proposal, what you would find is that the president is completely removed from the entire process beyond undertaking any ministerial work by way of implementing whatever comes before him in the new proposal. So what you would notice is that it is not just the Council of State that is playing a role. The new proposal distributes the entire process to sections of constitutional bodies to play some limited role by way of appointment to the committee that would investigate the matters after the Judicial Committee has brought their verdict out. And then the president has the onerous task of removing, assuming a recommendation for removal is made. If you look at it, even though it's a departure from the existing procedure, it is not completely removed from the same level of abuses that we attack the current system of having. I say this on the basis that chances are that the Council of State that is appointed is predominantly made of people who are sympathetic towards the certain president. And so chances are that if a president or a political party is indeed desirous of removing a CJ, because its members are or people sympathetic to the government will be the people sitting on the Council of State, automatically it would also mean that the Judicial Committee would also be members who are sympathetic towards the certain president and his political party. And so automatically the recommendation that will come will be a recommendation that is favorable to the president and the political party. The only difference, which may be a safeguard, will be the institution of the body that would then go into the issues properly so-called, not the people, not the Judicial Committee. From this perspective, they only do the prima facie case, determine the prima facie case or otherwise. And so the actual committee that would be responsible for the hearing will be made of people from independent bodies, if you like. Then again, this even though this is a good way of curbing abuses, you will still would have crossed the prima facie case, and you may not necessarily have, if you like, you will need a solid case to go to change the tide if you appear before the committee, because appearing before the committee already means that you have a question to answer. Remember that. And so to change that mindset of the committee that you do not have a question to answer will be a Herculean task for any person appearing before that committee. But because of the new structure, it appears to be a much better one than the current system. If you ask me, could we have a better way of handling this? whichever way you go, there would always be, my response would simply be that however you handle this matter, there could always be tendencies for abuses. But the essence of reform is to ensure that we have what will be of a tighter nature and at the same time flexible to allow for an undesirable CJ to be removed.
I see. And that's, it's a very comprehensive analysis in capturing your view on this. And this is why I bring in Professor Enoch Antwi as well as a governance expert. Prof, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. I ran through the proposal of this Constitutional Review Committee that has finished their work regarding the removal of the Chief Justice. Just a quick one on this, because you see that quite extensive changes in the process, as enshrined in Article 146 now, where the president comes in, and even the constitution of the membership of the 5-member committee. In this instance, they wanted even to be a tribunal, have the powers of a tribunal to actually hear this entire petition or the prima facie. Find out your thoughts on this.
Yes, thank you, Alfred, and greetings to TV3 viewers everywhere in the world. This Constitution Review Committee's recommendation is the best Christmas gift that we've had for the past 33 years. And I have to recommend the committee for that great job. When you talk about governance in the context of what we are seeing now, it is choosing the right people to do the right things at the right time for the right reasons so that the right results could be achieved for the nation. And in doing that, they realized the challenges that the present Chief Justice removal caused for the nation. And I said on your station that it is a litmus test for us to learn from it. And the Constitution Review Committee has really learned from it and made their recommendation. I like the way they started it. One, they capped the Chief Justice, Justice at the Supreme Court at 14, plus the Chief Justice, so it should be 15 now. Now, if you remember, we have about 21 Justices at the Supreme Court, and we always empanel 5, at most 7, to sit on the case. So now they are capping it at 15, including the Chief Justice, so 14 plus the other one, the Chief Justice is 15. I like that one. Then they need 15 years post-qualification, so they are trying to list the qualifications for it, and that is clearer now. Appeal Court is 12 years, and then the High Court is 10 years. Now, the removal of the Chief Justice that you talked about, it started with the person should have a mental or physical incapacity. That is the number 1 cause that the Chief Justice should be removed. Then incompetence is 2, gross misconduct is 3, violation of judicial code of conduct is 4, and bankruptcy now has been added 5. So yes, if you are broke, it means that you cannot be a good Chief Justice because you could be induced with money and other gifts. Then we go to the petition process. Now it goes to the Council of State straight. It doesn't start with the president, it goes to the Council of State. Remember, there is a word that they use. The Council of State term is going to be different from the president's term. Council of State is going to have 6 years. The president will have 5 years. I like that thing because now a new president from a new political party comes in and you have the Council of State still there for 1 year with you before their term ends. That empowers the Council of State to do more for the nation because most people have complained about the inactiveness of the Council of State or being a rubber stamp and approving whatever the president says.
Right.
So I think it's now I'm going to end with your question. The 5-member tribunal is in order. It is 5. So you have an even number. You have an odd number now, not an even number, which is 5. Then they have 7 days. So the days are specified for them to do their job. Then the president-elect just selects 1 person. Previously, the president will bring 2. Now it is 1. Then the speaker will bring 1, a former MP who doesn't hold any political position. Then we have the Public Service Commission, which is really good because they are bringing somebody who is going to be a fair-minded person. Then the National House of Chiefs, I like the way Nana Noma has been brought into this to declare or remove a Chief Justice. Then Judicial Council, a former Justice of the Supreme Court. So this is really fairly distributed. The previous one had 3 individuals appointed in the community who have no legal background. So I think we are in the right direction.
I see. And I thank you for this. And stay with me because I'm still going to seek your thoughts on another aspect of the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendation, and this has to do with the capping of ministers, and that's what's coming up next. Their proposal is that the ministers, that is, should be capped to 57. They say in a bid to curb executive excess, that is, and we're going to put that on the screen right now. In a bid to curb executive excess, that is the huge size of government we've been dealing with, the committee has proposed placing a firm ceiling on the size of government, limiting the number of ministers of state, including their deputies and obviously regional ministers, to no more than 57. No more than 57. That's the proposal of this Constitutional Review Committee after their consultation, Professor Enoch Antwi. Very wide, expansive consultation that they engaged in even before this report was put together. 57 is what they are saying the number of ministers should be capped at. Is it because of what we're experiencing now with the current administration? Because effectively, this administration, the President John Dramani Mahama, is governing with just about this size of ministers now, because the Minister for Environment and Substantive, and then the Minister for Defense Substantive have not been appointed as yet. So this is around the same number, and governance is taking place. Could this have also influenced this recommendation as we have it now?
That the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has modeled the way. And before the Constitutional Committee thought, he's already thought about it already. Reducing the ministers and deputies from the previous over 120 to less than 60 is really indeed what the Constitutional Amendment Committee is recommending. So I like the way they frame it. If you look at it, Article 78(2), it says that that includes deputies and regional ministers shall not exceed 3 times the number of ministers in the cabinet. Now, ministers of the cabinet have been capped at 19, and 19 multiplied by 3 is 57. So it is a perfect number that, look, cabinet should not be more than 19, and then after that, 19 times 3 should be the number of ministers. So 1/3 of the ministers appointed, and remember, they are all not going to come from parliament. So no parliamentarian will be a minister or a deputy or regional minister. That is great. The other side that allows so much is that the presidential term has been increased to 5 years. What it means is that every 20 years, we are saving 4 years, another elections of a lot of money and a lot of tension in the country. So they have given us a gift. This is really a Christmas gift that Ghanaians should celebrate.
Professor Enoch Antwi, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Professor Enoch Antwi is a governance expert, sharing his thoughts with us on this particular development in them here on Ghana Tonight. And this is it. This is what we've been talking about. They proposed a capping of the number of ministers to 57. That's what's captured in this Constitutional Review Committee's report. 57 number of ministers. They are not alone in that. Apart from that, we're also talking about the issues relating to the separation of Parliament from the executive. Currently, what we've been practicing, the flexible separation of powers module, where you have the executive also being able to tap into the legislature in terms of personnel. So you have ministers who are members of Parliament, right? And the Constitution captures it that the president may have appoint all more than half of his ministers from Parliament. Well, what this Constitutional Review Committee's recommendation is doing is to ensure a strict separation of powers. That's what they've proposed, that instead of this collaborative, cooperative, flexible cooperation of powers, where you have both sides at least then falling on each other, they say a clear separation between Parliament and the executive. They are proposing that members of Parliament should no longer be appointed as ministers. The change, according to the report, is intended to strengthen legislative oversight and reduce conflict of interest. This is one area as well that you've got quite a number of members of Parliament who are ministers or eyeing ministerial positions in the coming years also saying they don't agree with this. But Austin Game is a former minister in charge of employment and labor in the first administration. That is the Jerry John Rawlings administration. When we started this entire Fourth Republic, he understands what went into the minds of the framers of the Constitution when it comes to this particular one, that now the Constitutional Review Committee is saying that it should be changed. He's joining us on Zoom right now, a former member of parliament as well. So, Zonson Game, thank you very much. You fit directly into this now, that the Constitutional Review Committee is saying that if you're a member of parliament, well, the president should not appoint you as a minister. You were a member of parliament for North Tongue at the time, and you were appointed as a minister as well. Now, the Constitutional Review Commission said that shouldn't happen going forward. I found your take on this.
Thank you. Nene, I used to be very regular in the parliament of Dr. Hilary Liman. He was the president. Yes, were influenced greatly by the event that took place when some of the Liman's own members of parliament revolted against his administration during the course of his ruling. And that perhaps accounted for them deciding to have a fusion of the American and the British system, whereby will have to be appointed, a little over half appointed from among members of parliament of the same ruling party from parliament. And that became the norm. I was a beneficiary of it myself. And because of this kind of influence, it did created all manner of problems along the line. And we doggedly, as a people, kept it, and people lamenting about it, both within and without. And now here we are, a determination to seek to amend the Constitution, which I think that the people, the committee that was put together to do this work did a yeoman's job by now frontally facing the issue and dealing with it to enable the public to have opportunity to vote on it when the time is due.
Now, you made that recommendation. In fact, you went back into what exactly led to the framers of the Constitution now thinking about putting this in the current Constitution. What happened in the then Liman government, which now influenced that proposal, and in fact, that constitutional provision that the president may appoint more than half of his ministers from parliament. But now, the Constitutional Review Committee says, going forward, that should not be the case, or it should be considered not to be the case. Is it that the reasoning at the time that led to this constitutional review or this constitutional provision in the 1992 Constitution has outlived its purpose? Reason why there has to be a change?
Well, Ghana is well over 68 years old now, and therefore it is an injunction and endeavor to do what civilized people all over the world are doing. That is to enable us curb corruption to the maximum level. It would be appropriate to have people in parliament, even within a ruling party, to be able to question ministers of state when they appear or they are summoned before the House, to enable them account for their stewardship, because our Constitution depends largely on accountability and responsibility. And to be accountable would mean that even the most casual mistake on your part will have to be accounted for. And ministers of state can be held properly accountable by a legislature that is not a mixed up legislature and not influenced by overly partisan considerations. So I think that it's a very noble approach. At this point in time, we have no choice than to do away with the mixture as we try to keep all this while. It has not entirely served our purpose, especially the past 8 years was quite dramatic. And we need to be very, you saw that some members of parliament in the past government, well over 80 of them, if not 90 of them, came together strongly to demand accountability on the part of both the Minister of Finance and even the presidency. Unfortunately, because of the looseness that we have in the system, we could not take advantage of it. And so it is now appropriate, particularly so when you have a personality like His Excellency John Mahama, to take advantage and hold the bull by the horn at this point in time, to set things in.
I see. So even though you were a beneficiary of the current structure, as you were a member of parliament and also appointed as a minister, just after coming into force of the 1992 Constitution, few years after, you think that the reasoning that went into that current constitutional provision has outlived its purpose? It must go. You agree with the Constitutional Review Commission's report that this proposal should be taken into place. No member of parliament should be appointed as a minister. You support that?
Hugely supported, because I myself am an example of it. My colleagues, including the president himself, including Honorable Asiedu Nketia, Nana Akufo-Addo, will testify that and the darling boy of the then Speaker, Justice D.F. Hannan, when I get up on my feet, speak extemporary, laid out things the way it should be without looking left or right. It be seen to be asking unnecessarily questions of your own colleague, Minister of State, and from the same party. But when I was representing my people, it was a different ball game altogether. So I go with it 100%. If we are to establish what we meant by accountability and responsibility, then this is the time, and we should not shake it at all.
And I do thank you. I thank you very much, Osingame. Thank you for your time and your thoughts on this matter. Osingame, for the purpose of this conversation, is a former member of parliament of the Northton constituency, a former minister as well. While he was a member of parliament, he agrees with the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendation that going forward, that should not happen. Be a member of parliament, focus on your job as MP. We'll have a different set of people appointed as ministers of state. Well, let's take a quick detour from this. As I told you, we're going to be serializing various aspects of this Constitutional Review Committee's recommendations, subjected to some conversation in the coming days. But coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, the Attorney General's rejection of a plea deal in the National Service Authority trial has sparked some debate, some views on this. We're going to be getting into it shortly. Well, if you recall, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Akuritinga-Ayine, has revealed that he turned down a plea bargain offer in the National Service Authority's ghost names scandal, which involves an alleged 38 million Ghana cedis loss to the state. He said the accused person, one of them, proposed refunding 22 million in exchange for avoiding full prosecution, a condition Dr. Ayine says he rejected, stressing that repayment alone cannot replace criminal accountability in cases of alleged state financial loss. This is it. Take a look.
Pursuant to discussions with the Auditor General, the sums of money involved in the National Service scandal have been disallowed by the Auditor General, and these sums have been surcharged on the public officers who superintended the looting of state resources at the NSA. The notices of disallowance and surcharge have been duly issued and served on the said public officers. After 14 days, if they fail to show cause why the sums of money should not be disallowed and surcharged on them, the money becomes a debt due and owing to the Republic. And I will proceed to take civil action to recover the sums involved. Once a judgment is obtained, it will be executed using the civil procedure mechanisms, including the attachment of properties they own, whether or not these properties were part of the proceeds of crime. I intend to write formally to the Auditor General for confirmation of the notices of disallowance and surcharge.
Martin Kpebu is Private Legal Practitioners Council. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Well, you've been consistent that the big part of the oral, which you were part of at the beginning, is recovery of the loot. So whatever money is given by any of the accused persons, the Attorney General should take it. He gave clear reasons why this time around, that 22 million out of the 38 million, he rejected it because this person who was offering it wanted to escape full accountability. Now, why should that be an issue, essentially? Because the Attorney General's position is that bring the money, I'll take it, but then there should be some level of accountability as well. Why is there an issue there?
Oh, is that all to rate? He rejected a 22 million. Yes, you see, what we've done is that it's public opinion. I'm not surprised the Attorney General has rejected it because of what we did to him in the Dufour case. That's the Unibank case concerning the Dufours. See, the public, was angry. No. He didn't cut a good deal, and then it created a whole brouhaha. You see it. But I have been consistent that, look, any day when I see money being returned to the consolidated fund, I'll take it as long as it comes with a clause that the person paying back has not been absolved of any crime. The fact that we've discontinued or will not do the criminal prosecution does not ipso facto mean the person didn't commit the crime. Once it comes with that clause, I'm okay. Because look, Mr. Okansi, truth be told, we cannot prosecute all the cases within 4 years. So we have to be strategic. For those who return money, we should take. Look, Akufo-Addo's time, venture capital, during the return money, they avoided the jail terms, right? Yeah, the venture capital case. It involved people who returned money and avoided the jail terms. Also, during Akufo-Addo's time, this case started under President Mahama in his first term, 2012-2016. National Service scandal. Some of the people paid money and avoided jail terms. So this anger that we unleashed on the Attorney General in the Dufour case is what has, killed the spirit. That's how come he would reject 22 million. Look, it's not yet late. I will tell the Attorney General, I will even seek to go and look for him personally to encourage him to take the money, take 22 million. Take it. Because we can, you see, sometimes if we are not careful, citizens will keep saying no. And then we could end up short. Let's not forget the Japa case, when Godfred Dami was told to take that money, when the Dubai-based company, the ambulance case, Godfred Dami was asked to take that money. He said no. Akufo-Addo and Ofori-Atta were on his neck, saying he must prosecute Ato Forson, current finance minister, so that there will be a by-election in Ato Forson's constituency. The Japa tape, I'm not the one saying it, it's Godfred Dami who said it himself. What happened? We ended up getting zero. We didn't get even 1 CD. So I'll beg Dr. Ayini that, look, he should take this money. The fact, some citizens would always 100%. In every society, yes, you'll find some people who are perfectionists. For them, even if the person, this National Service case person, there are some people, even if he returned all the 38 million, they will say no, they want interest. That's in every society, You will get the perfectionists, you will get the pragmatics, etc. So some people are pragmatic, others are perfectionists, very idealistic, etc. In every society, they are there. So if we're to say that because of the way he was chastised when he took the deal in the Unibank case concerning the DUFOS, then that means that he should never take money. No, that's when I say take money, that's he should never accept recovery, or he should never accept when people want to return money to the consolidated fund to avoid prosecution.
Right.
Then we would not make progress. So he has to stand his grounds. And I'm telling you that I will look for the Attorney General to make my case that he should take it.
So you're making the case that he should take it, but his rejection was not in oblivion. He put it in the context that this person who offered to pay 22 million out of the 38 wanted to avoid full criminal prosecution, a condition that is deemed unacceptable. Even in plea bargain, he says you have to plead guilty. You just cannot avoid full criminal prosecution. That's the context in which he put it, not necessarily rejecting it, without reason.
It's not all the time. You see, look, the plea bargain law, remember that the Attorney General has the overall prosecutorial powers. The plea bargain law, does not come to replace the Attorney General's own discretion. In any event, even under plea bargain, you can do it and not plead bargain, not plead guilty. That's number one. Yes, you can do plea bargaining, return money, do a non-prosecution agreement, like the way he did for some of the national service suspects, etc., without pleading guilty. And then number two, under the Constitution, the discretion the Attorney General exercises in order to decide not to prosecute is still there. The plea bargain law does not take away that discretion. So where the Attorney General thinks, and they even have a manual, when you go to the Attorney General's office, there's a manual they developed. I'll bring a copy to the studio on Saturday. You'll see where they look, apart from the evidence, they also look at the public interest. That's in order to make a decision to prosecute. It's not always about only evidence, but there's also the public interest. So that's how come that when some cases are said that they will affect our national security, the Attorney General can say, I'm not prosecuting this. And that's done. In Ghana, we've done it a few times.
Right.
And if you look abroad in the UK, US, etc., in the UK, there's a famous case about the Saudi arms deal. There was a deal that the UK government officials, they were doing with the Saudis on an arms deal. It was going to embarrass the UK government. They stopped the prosecution.
I see.
There are other cases, like when the prosecutorial misconduct, what Godfrey Dame did in the Japa tape, etc. So what I'm saying is that the Attorney General still has enough powers to take money without prosecuting. Prosecution is not only through it's not totally circumscribed by the Plea Bargaining Act.
Okay. Counsel, thank you very much for your thoughts on this. As you indicated, this is a conversation that in the coming days we'll get into, and I'll wait for that document that you talk about as well, just to bring some more flesh to the discussion. Thank you. And this is Ghana Tonight. We're back shortly after this quick break. There's more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Before I go, the bail has been denied. The Gbese District Court ordered the Interior Ministry to clarify the arrest warrant in the high-profile wire fraud and romance scam trial, and that is what happened earlier today. The Gbese District Court has ordered the Interior Ministry to provide additional details within 5 weeks on the arrest warrants issued for 2 alleged accomplices of wire fraud and romance scam suspect Frederick Kumi, popularly known as Abutrika. The court also dismissed their bail applications. Abutrika, together with Daniel Yusuf, also known as Lord Eshen, and Bernard Edu, they've been charged with conspiracy to defraud by false pretenses and the money laundering as well. Following the proceedings, one of the Abutrika's lawyers addressed the media. One of the lawyers of Abutrika indicated that these proceedings is one they watch in the next couple of weeks because the Interior Ministry has been giving that period to provide further detail on the warrant. Take a look.
Bill for A1 whose name is retained on the indictment has not really crystallized. That's why we didn't apply for bail for A1. But A2 and A3, their names are not on the indictment that was retained by the USA or the Department of Justice of the United States. So that's why we prayed for bail. But still, per Article 19, 14, and then Section 96, it's still with the bosom of the court, the judge. And she exercises her discretion in favor of the state rather than the accused persons or the alleged fugitives.
There's more of this on 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning. Also on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7, join the team. Eric Mawenagbeta and Helena Piampofo, Johnny Hughes, all of them as well. And this morning is on 3news.com. I am Alfred Akonse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint.